Good afternoon, everyone. We are back with yet another update on this Sunday afternoon for the storm that we have been monitoring now for several days at this point. Many spots continue to see rain mixing with snow, just plain rain, and even at some of our higher elevation locations, a heavy wet snow. So where you live plays a big role right now in what you may be seeing. Folks in our Harrisburg area, you've been seeing wet flakes mixing in, but because it was so mild yesterday, we said and have been saying this for a couple days now, much of this isn't going to lay or become a problem until the evening and the night, and the roads would just be wet. And especially after many spots were well into the 40s yesterday, it's just going to be too difficult, especially with temperatures in many spots in the mid-30s at this hour. So you can certainly see just the wet roads, and from time to time you can see some hefty flakes mixing in, and then maybe just a little bit more by the wayside of rain. But let's start with a wider view here. First thing I want to call your attention to, look at this ribbon of blue that has started to blow up across the coastline from New Jersey down through Delmarva. That is a sign that the storm is deepening, it's strengthening, it's doing what we think it's going to do, in short. So we're going to continue to see the cold air wrap in, and this is going to change rain to snow over the next few hours rather. This is why we said today, daytime hours would be okay, and then, of course, as this cold air continues to wrap in, the evening and the night would be a much different story. And also why they're expecting the highest totals farthest along the shore points here. You can see the blizzard warnings in the red here. It's not very often they get it from Delmarva through New Jersey, but it even extends up through New England as well, as you would expect. We've got winter storm warnings, though. That's the pink here as we continue to monitor conditions across our area. And then to the north, of course, winter weather advisories where lesser amounts are expected at this point in time. So with that said, here is a closer look at the radar over our area. And yes, many spots are still seeing rain mixing in, or even a little bit more rain than snow at this point. But the next few hours, as temperatures start to cool and that storm continues to intensify, we are going to get a heavy wet snow through the evening and into the night. Temperatures too, they've been in the mid-30s, even seeing a 40 degrees for Lebanon right now. That's going to make it pretty difficult to stick, especially on non-grassy surfaces. So I think heading into the early part of the evening, the grassy surfaces will be the first to go. They don't take as much time to cool, and then roadways will start to get slushy as well. Visibility is down in some spots right now, particularly where we might be getting some of that higher elevation snow. So just allow that extra time for travels. Like we've been saying, and just to reiterate this point once again, afternoon is going to continue to be fine, even the early evening, but the evening is when things start to change. On our Futurecast model, you can see, of course, the blue continuing to move its way in. That's a sign, of course, that everything continues to cool and we ultimately do get rid of the rain. And then it's going to be a heavy wet snow. That's going to be through the rest of the evening and through midnight. And then after midnight, the latter portion of the overnight period and towards daybreak, we start to see this taper. So that's going to be when we get the most accumulations out of this before ultimately this just whisks and moves out to sea. We could be left with a few residual snow showers or flurries a few hours before daybreak, but this should really start to taper after 2 o'clock in the morning. So I do think that'll give crews time to clean up through the early morning hours, especially if we do get some extra slushy conditions in some spots. And I think by the afternoon, truly, our travels are going to be okay. Farther east you go, though, it's obviously going to be a much different story where you see all that blue still along the coastline. They have much more time to go with this system than we do, and that's why our amounts were never really looking like it was going to be more than a foot, and why we would have much difficulty getting to that point, too. So some snow and rain showers will continue through the rest of the afternoon. And like we've been saying, minimal impacts. This is mostly going to be melting on contact, especially on the roadways after how mild yesterday was. This was expected, at least that part of it anyway. Steadier snow, though, that does begin this evening. And we think a general area-wide 3 to 8 inches does cover most of our area. Most of this accumulation will be during the evening and then part of the overnight period before it tapers heading into the morning. I think for folks waking up like right around the crack of dawn, it'll be done by then for most of us, and it might just be cleaning up some slushy roads, especially our back roads and our secondary roads. That's where I think we're going to have the slickest and the biggest travel delays. But for the most part, like I said, by the afternoon, I think we're going to be in a good place. This shouldn't take too much time to recover from, especially because of how warm temperatures are, or at least how warm the ground is thanks to temperatures, with that said. So here's a look at our latest totals. This is a little different, though, from the map we put out last evening. I will say that right off the bat here. We think with a bit of a shift to the east with this storm that we couldn't entirely rule out last evening, we think we can finally push the 8 to 12 inch range that we had in eastern Lancaster County as we watched where that cutoff would be. We think we can comfortably move that out to the east now. With that said, we are looking at the potential, of course, for some higher amounts, 5 to 8 inches, but then this nose with the back edge of this system, 2 to 5 inches now, I think is looking like a good bet from York to Harrisburg, perhaps as far west as Carlisle, Duncannon, Likens, and even Lebanon. Higher elevation locations, we'll have to keep an eye out anywhere from from 5 to 8 inches as possible, but this could be very elevation versus valley dependent here. We are going to send it out into the field now for Fox 43's Tyler Poglish. He is live in West Manchester Township in York County with the we're going to check in with him later, actually. We'll go to break right now. Stay tuned.